Christmas Eve, take one.
Good morning.
Christmas rocks.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you wonderful Billy alone.
Tony Garageband.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me. And if you can't, you're only a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Okay.
Oh, no!
It's the holiday season.
All right, here we are. I've been wearing this hat on and off. Well, actually, I think I started around like Thanksgiving. My face looks weird. I might be the slightest bit hungover, but not really. I mean, yesterday's live broadcast on Locals where I was drinking, which I didn't check to see if it's still up there. They might have taken it down. But I was playing Christmas music and talking, and I was getting into a little bit of like, I guess I threw around a few F this, F that's. You know, this stuff happens. I mean, it's
the holiday season.
What can one do? I have on the screen, as you can see, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," the poem, which we're going to get into a little bit later on. So I just wanted to keep that there in case someone saw "'Twas the Show Before Christmas," that if that brought you here, hang in, we're going to get to that. Title card for today's show looks something like this: "Have a rockin' Christmas Eve." And maybe we'll play around with that too a little bit. Maybe some clips of some classic Christmas tunes from my collection. Some of the stuff I got into yesterday. You know, things like you know, that song, you could name that song in one note. My all-time favorite Christmas song, though I have to admit, though, is the Payolas. We'll just do 6 seconds of that for now. But let's see, give you a little bit more of it. I'm trying to get you into the vocal. Yeah, right here.
Christmas is coming. It's been a long year.
Yeah, it's been a long year, hasn't it? It's been a crazy long year. And I just, I was thinking about that when I was laying in bed. You know, I could have gotten up earlier, but I just was like making sure I was fully recovered. I had this chocolate. I'll show you a picture of it. It's in my Christmas folder. I need to find something to take out. I think it's time we maybe get rid of the tooth thing. Oh, God. I still have a cavity somewhere, and I don't want to think about it. But, yeah. But actually, I'll put it under, I don't think we need Boozilla here. I'll show you what I had yesterday from the show if you didn't catch that. And I believe I have this under Christmas. Bear with me. It's from my hometown brewery. Oh, sideways. Hang on a second. Certain images that I put in for some reason unknown to man, I have to go flip them around full circle and then save them. No, in other words, rotate them full circle. And once they come in sideways. And once I rotate them full circle, what happens is, let's see what's going on here. Okay, yeah. Now it looks fine. This is, I'll just pull that in. This was the scene yesterday. And that's my bar, kitchen bar, which is, that away. And yeah, I was drinking a half and half with this Yingling Hershey's chocolate porter. That, I mean, I think the Yingling's porter always had what they used to refer to, like these people that say that notes of chocolate, right? But beyond the notes of chocolate, this is like Hershey's chocolate porter. A friend of mine brought me a couple bottles of this, and I just got around yesterday to tasting it yesterday afternoon. And I made like a half and half with it. But it was good. And then I did a show. And like I say, you could see, I don't know, you can't really catch too much, but there's a little bit of a wooden bar. If you look in between the bottle and the thing, you could see that's my bar. And behind there, there's, it's like instead of what people have a kitchen counter, I have a bar. That kind of thing. But like I said, we'll get into 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Why not? We'll do that a little bit in a little while. And so, in the meantime, these are all our Christmas images that we've been popping in and out. Scrooge is on the screen twice right now, but this other sepia color one of them looks a little bit better. That Santa with the guitar was originally part of a cover of a magazine I did. And then, I don't know, it ended up being a promo for myself, ROCKFLUX.com. So, anyway, here we are. I finally made it, Christmas Eve. And I guess...
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
What I did was, I told you yesterday my coffee, I got this like Dollar Tree vanilla roast. I mean, what do you expect? So it was tasteless, and I was like, maybe it was just colored sawdust from China. So what I did was, I added some vanilla extract and some Folgers instant coffee, just topped off the coffee in the filter of the coffee machine to see if I could, and I don't know, it's almost like, it tastes like someone added vanilla extract to coffee. Yeah, and I know, I could see my face, I look half awake. It's 5:21 a.m. technically. On the 24th of December, so Christmas Eve, here I am, there you are, and, I guess
It's the holiday season.
tomorrow starts the 12 days of Christmas. A lot of people don't know that. Some people think it's leading up to Christmas, but it's actually the 12 days of Christmas. So I guess we'll keep that stuff up for the 12 days of Christmas. That's assuming I still have the will to continue doing these shows. I've got the complete Santa outfit on right now. And I've got the little bear. I brought him out yesterday for the show. If you get a chance to go to TonyCaravanLive.locals.com and let's see if we'll go together and we'll see if the show's still there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they would have taken it down, but wait, video capture device, display capture. Let's go here. New window. And we'll go to my home. We'll go through my page in case you've never been to my page. And you can see you could go direct. I've got a Rumble link here, but I've also got my locals link there. Oh, man, don't tell me I have to log in. I don't want to log in. Is it going to let me log in from this browser? No. I didn't think it was a member. Let me view this content first. Okay. All right. So this is my channel on locals. All right. And as you can see, a lot of these are the ones that just have the planet on. This is the show from yesterday, though, right here. So it looks like it's still there. December 23rd, 30 minutes and 2 seconds. Preview ends in 40. Yeah, it's there. That's me yesterday. You can see it was daylight. You see what the room looks like. Anyway, that's that. Just thought it's there. If you want to check it out, it's pretty, it's basically me in a more free-form, imbibing environment. It's basically the stuff, everything you can't do on YouTube, I do there. A little stuffy in here. I got 2 layers on. I got a shirt underneath this like Santa, fake Santa costume thing. I have like a furry, like a legitimate one. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit. See, it even has like a fake belt on there. See that? I have to, like I said, I used to have all of this stuff and more because I used to do these free, like I would do free Christmas part DJ, at different clubs and pubs. I would give, the week leading up to Christmas or so, I would do these free couple-hour parties, and I'd give out prizes to people. I'd pay for it all myself, and I wouldn't get paid by the owners. All I'd ask them for is just keep the beers coming, keep the pitchers of beer coming over, and they were like, okay, that's cool. Free DJ, and it was Christmas music. I had 100%, because I've got the best selection of Christmas music of practically anybody. Because not only do I have all of the stuff that you would know, but I've sought out all of the obscure things, and it's like I was playing before. Things that a lot of people just don't know exist. Like Auntie McLean. Maybe you might know this one. This is called Christmas at the Trailer Park. These things have such long intros.
Up all year, your trigger pick flamingos.
You get the idea. Reggae Christmas. Irie Christmas. Let's see what else we have here. Of course, Reverend Horton Heat. That eventually gets into Jingle Bells, believe it or not. Let's see what else we got here that you might not know. Santa Came Home Drunk.
You talk about Santa Claus. You want to know what is?
Stuff like that. But I'm just scanning this really quick. Teenage Fan Club. The summer was out of sight. This stuff. This is really jingle punks. Crazy stuff like that. I mean, I have traditional stuff, and I have, everything from jazz to, Santana. Lionel Hampton. Dave Brubeck. All kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, it's
the holiday season.
So anyway, here I am. Yeah, my face looks. I'm all redded out, but I don't know if it's partially that I am. My face is glowing, like from that poem, which I'll read in a little while. Twas the night before Christmas. Yeah, we'll get into that. Why not? Something to do. Yeah. When's the last time you heard somebody read that? Right. I don't know. We'll go full how long we're going to go. I have to worry. The next week, I mean, I did my best to get my attic all prepared for this. We're going to get like a solid week of where it's going to rain on and off for the next week. And that's all I need is a monsoon season when I have a leaky roof. I was kind of sweating it last night because we did get precipitation, but it came down in the form of snow. So for people, and it wasn't supposed to, really. In fact, the temperature right now in my neck of the woods here in the mid-Atlantic states, it's like 48 degrees, so that snow should be like dissipating very soon, and it's supposed to get up to like 50 today. Tomorrow's supposed to be 57, but it's like I said, it's rain on and off, and it's going to be in the 40s and 50s. So where that snow came from, that was just a real, that was like people out going to Christmas parties, coming home from Christmas parties last night. The streets were clean, but the sidewalks and the lawns and stuff, got enough snow on it that it stuck, so it was white. So it was like a gift. You know what I mean? Just Christmas lights on people's houses, white snow on porch rails and some sidewalks and grass and lawns. But the road's clean enough so it's still safe to drive, and you're coming home from a Christmas party or people are doing their Christmas shopping or something like that. It just adds to that whole thing. The magic, right? It was pretty interesting. I didn't notice it till this morning because I was I plopped in bed. I did my drinking yesterday afternoon, middle of the day. So I just drank for a couple hours. I just had a few beers. That was the most beers I've had in a while because I just haven't had. I mean, yesterday I actually people don't admit this, but it's like yesterday was the first time I had a buzz on in since I think the summer or something like that. A couple of times I've had a couple of beers here or there since then, in between. But no, I just stopped. And I didn't smoke a cigar. I usually smoke a cigar when I have a couple of beers. And I didn't have any, and I didn't really have the urge to. So I don't know. I guess I'm getting beyond that too, which is probably a good thing, So I don't know. But it was fun, I was curious. It was fun, I thought, what am I going to do? I'll be used to puffing on the old stogie, because I was just pretty much hanging by myself. So that's why I ended up going live for 30 minutes. That's the max I have at Locals. But if you want to check that out, feel free. You could do it. Become a member of Locals. There's interesting content on there. And there's a diversity of people on that platform. And it is more First Amendment friendly than YouTube. Tulsi Gabbard's on there, and and Dave Rubin, who's was one of the founders of the thing, which now Rumble owns Locals, and we'll just have to see what happens with that come next year. Rumble is supposedly going to be enabling live for everybody. Right now, it's like kind of a pay-to-play live thing. But if they're going to compete with YouTube, they're going to have to offer the same ability for people to use this. Now, they say they're going to allow this to, the way I could bring that up, they're going to allow this open source program and others to be used, which will be pretty good. Anyway, it's a good morning. Good morning. Nobody's here as usual. I put up my Merry Christmas chat. I am going to take a walk to the grocery store at about 7-ish, and I'll have to actually put my hiking boots on because of the snow did stick to the sidewalk, and it probably will still be there at 7, because I don't anticipate the temperature, according to this thing. It's only going to get colder by 7 a.m. I don't know when. It's going to be like 45 degrees. And there's no sun, so the ground, I guess, is cold. So I was thinking all kinds of things. So if you want to see the kind of madness and just freeform, total freeformness and social me criticizing what's going on, check out that half-hour show from yesterday when I was drinking and ranting. Right, nothing worse than a guy ranting while he's drinking. Right, But I was today as soberly. In the morning, as I was laying in bed, as I was getting up, thinking about today and whether or not I even feel like doing a show. Like I say, at this point, it's hard for me to, want to do a show. Those teeth look really white. But though I have had, I'm getting like a pain on its side. I don't know. That darn teeth cleaning those people did that time. So, yeah, I was thinking about, like alternate universes and stuff like that. Because like yesterday where I had the freedom, more or less, to just talk about how screwed up everything was and, F this, F that. And playing longer clips of, music than I can do here. When you're back on this platform, it's just hard to really, like I say, you walk in on eggshells, and, it shouldn't be that way. And it's not, well, anyway, so the more I've been thinking about what, my show, what did I have? The Bogeyman in Chief show was that yesterday or two episodes ago? I think I've lost track since I did yesterday, technically 2 shows. But the more I think about that, what they're trying to do, what's coming our way in January, between whatever they're going to mail out, everybody gets a test. And then supposedly there's some magic pill that's out there that they're going to ship out apparently to all the doctors. Right? And then, plus doubling down, tripling down on, on the other mandates and stuff like that. And there's 2 things that came to mind this morning when I was thinking about it, but when you think about this, that come to mind. And they are that one is, it's like we're living in an alternative universe. Alternate universe. I mean, compared to where we were just a couple of years ago. I mean, things were weird and surreal, the way the media was dealing with Trump with all these things, and it was that obsession. But it wasn't as if it hasn't, going back the last 20 years, even 30 years, it wasn't, it all started towards the end of the Clinton administration, if you think about it. I mean, none of us were really paying much attention to it because we were in the midst of the, the .com thing was building, and then, the .com boom and bust or whatever. But not really, that was just, that was one of those stock things, people lost money and et cetera, et cetera. But through that all, most of us, technologically wise, we continued and grew and advanced, right up until the early part of the Bush administration. But really, it started, a lot of this craziness started when they, with the Clinton impeachment, and then weapons of mass destruction under Bush. And then Obama, who basically said he was going to change and all that stuff. And then he just lied and ended up being bombing, people and stirring up the hornet's nest in the Middle East. And then Trump got in and the media just went like psycho, like crazed. Because the crowned, preordained coronation of Hillary Clinton, was like they were blindsided. And now you got this, which is just like it. Like I say, the word surreal is like it doesn't carry any weight because it's just too crazy. This guy who's in there now is like, what, is going on? And then this flu thing that's going on forever, right? And it's just getting crazier and crazier. In one breath they're talking about they're going to have a pill, and then at the same breath they're saying everybody's got to get tested, so they got to get these boosters and shots and stuff. So it's like, is there a treatment? You're talking about a treatment or what? Like they don't know themselves, I think. There's so many mixed messages coming out. And yesterday we talked about when we were looking at the CDC site and just seeing all the contradictions in the causes of death and the things they left out, put in, left out, So, that in one, okay, so that you have that on one side, right? Things are just so bizarre, that it's just, for some people, it truly is.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
Your papers, please.
There's somebody outside talking too. Who would be outside at 5:41? There's no bus this early. There's a bus stop across the street, but it's like I think the first bus doesn't come till like close to 7. So if somebody's standing there waiting for a bus, they're gonna freeze for an hour or more. Well, anyway, so that's one side. So you have this insanity going on, right? And all these pundits, politicians under soapboxes, bureaucrats, unelected officials appearing on TV and, stuff. And then all these various vloggers and, people, podcast people, the YouTube millionaires, but podcast millionaires just in general. The Rogans and stuff like that. These people are making a ton of money, millions. And, so they're all covering this and it's the same, they're just in it for the money. No matter what you say, it's their job. You know what I mean? See, that's a part that we all forget sometimes. And I mean, every one of us. We really forget that, like the media itself, all media, right? From social media to print, radio, television, billboards for that matter, any kind of magazine, media, all media. This, YouTube, right? Not for me, I'm not monetized, but all media, people are in it for the money and it's the job. And so the big media, the mainstream media, they're all making multi-million-dollar salaries. But, the big podcasters are making $1 million. Or 6 figures at least, a lot of these people. So they're all part of the elite. And so they just keep pushing this story. That was the whole thing with the Trump story. A lot of people don't realize that. And people are still hanging on to that. And Trump himself used to mention that, that it was just, the media. Because they didn't understand, because he was on the media, right? He was the king of television, right? He had some of the highest ratings and stuff with that Apprentice show, whatever it was. So he knew that inside business. But people don't realize is that, it's all about money. That's all it is. It's just their businesses, their corporations. And the podcasters, that's their job, right? You can't call it a gig. It's like the gig economy, but, it's, because they're making millions or hundreds of thousands. But in effect, it's kind of like the gig economy. And there's lower level people, I'm sure, who are making, probably scraping maybe, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000. And it, depending on where you live in this country, you could get by on, whatever the cost of living is in the area you're in. Like I say, where I am, the cost of living is nothing. Okay, so that brings me to the second part of this, right? So one, you have these people propagating this whole thing and this whole crazy, magical, mystery, bizarro world, right? Alternate universe. It's been going on. But then on the other side, you have like places like mine, which I was just thinking about this morning. That's what this is, where I'm leading to. Is that even though I am in a, technically, I guess it would be a blue state, okay? And I'm surrounded by people that, are basically drinking this Kool-Aid, which is totally ridiculous because at one time, the so-called progressives, and I'm not political anymore. I'm just critical, right? I said that the other day, and that's going to stick with, I think I'm going to use that. In other words, I criticized, the World Economic Forum and the corporatocracy, big pharma, big tech, right? Military contractors, big financial system, big ag. So I'm critical, not political. I'm not pushing left or right. But there was a time when I considered myself progressive, right? And, because there was a time when so-called progressive, right, which some people would associate with the old Democrat Party, but not the ancient Democrat Party, not the party of, the sicko party, party of Johnson. I mean, those were the crazies, right? They were crazy back then too. But, what came through like the 80s and the 90s, where, like even like Clinton, in a sense, that'd be Bill Clinton, that they were centrists, so they were, remember, he was like, it's the economy, stupid, and that kind of thing. So in other words, they weren't socialist, communist, that kind of thing. They were realist and they were centrist, so they believed in capitalism and free enterprise and freedom of speech and the Bill of Rights, right? The Fourth Amendment and stuff like that. And I used to watch, if you used to watch a show in the 90s, something like Democracy Now!, Amy Goodman and people like that, they would be on the side, they would be against all these people now. Right? But somehow they've like flipped, so it's weird. And, so I don't know. It's just it's upside down, inside out, backwards, right? It's just crazy. Like I say, alternate universe. But what I want to say is that, so I'm in this place that technically would be considered a blue state, right? And there's probably, but the thing is, people here, and remember, there's 330 some million people in the United States. And it's a pretty big country. And I know, because I've literally driven in my, younger days, I've driven through most of the states in my car by myself in many cases. So I've been all over this place, and it's huge. The space between. And a lot of people just don't know that. Right? And there's these towns and cities all over the place. And people don't know about that either. And so what we hear and what these, like from the podcasters, the vloggers, and the mainstream media, all like I say, all media, all of that stuff incorporates the media, right? The media machine, whatever. These people are all caught up in the same kind of storytelling, the same narratives. And it's, so like eyes are on Washington, D.C. and politics, New York City, L.A., right? And then stories that pop up out of like Texas or Florida, right? Or something like that. Red state, blue state, but basically, the mayor of Chicago, what's happening in Detroit, Philly, but it's like major market type of things, the big story, but mainly it's politics, and then it's followed closely by entertainment, because that's like part of the thing, because that's tied into this whole social engineering thing, which you could dedicate 27 shows to, how there's still talk of inequality and all this kind of stuff, but you turn on Netflix or turn on Amazon Prime or anything, or TV show, and you'd be hard pressed to find a show that doesn't have a lesbian sex scene, a gay sex scene, an interracial sex scene, a major character who's a person of color or a religion, other than Christianity. Right, so the so-called white man bad, we went from orange man bad to white man bad, but you don't even see the so-called white man anymore, right? And there's still, but it's like then what? It's never enough. Then what? What more do you want, right? And I don't really care. It's just that sometimes it just seems like it's gratuitous. It's like, it's soft porn almost. They insert these things into these shows, and I'm no prude or anything like that. I don't care. I don't mind watching two lesbians go at it. It doesn't bother me. But it should have something to do with the story. It's like, it was funny. This is like going to come off really weird, but. I like comic books, Marvel and DC comics and all that stuff, and the movies and the shows. And I was watching on the CW. I used to, on this one browser I had, was the experimental browser. It used to play CW without the commercials. Yeah, somehow. And it was seamless. But but after about a year, they got onto it. So I used to watch some of the CW shows because I can't stand commercials, and so I just watch them for free through the internet because it would just go play straight through. But doesn't do that anymore. And so now, I was watching Batwoman, right? And so the new Batwoman was a lesbian, which is fine with me. And she was like this tough chick, rode the motorcycle and, and all that. And she basically, her cover was she ran a gay bar, right? So Batwoman was a lesbian who owned a gay bar. Okay. And I'm going, okay, fine. All right. That's cool. But that wasn't enough for whoever, the people who put the pressure on the entertainment people. So they had to kill her off. And I don't know if you're not into like Batwoman, if you wouldn't have the CW, you wouldn't know this. Well, anyway, they killed that character off, and they had to replace her with a black lesbian who took over a gay bar. Right? Do you see what I mean? It got to the point because it wasn't diverse enough to have a lesbian white, girl, which inevitably they would have gratuitous, scenes, right? That had nothing to do with the story, right? It didn't advance the story. So they had to replace the lesbian with a black lesbian, So the only thing they didn't do is have her like, getting down on a rug and bowing to Mecca 3 times a day, which who knows? I haven't watched it in a while. I think it's in, it's in between seasons anyway, but maybe that's the next thing. It's like they try to throw so much stuff into it, and then they're still saying it's never enough, like as if like, I'm like, man, this is weird. Anyway, so you have this surrealism going on in entertainment, politics, and all that stuff. You know, the BLM stuff and all that stuff. You know, and then all this stuff about this, you know, the thing and getting, you know, this, and now there's going to be a pill and they're going to mail out tests to everybody and test us, right? Assuming. But what I was saying is, okay, and so all the vloggers and the podcasters and the media people are all obsessed with that, and that's all they talk about, and they make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year by doing that. So they're mercenary, right? And it's the same with like the BLM people and stuff. You know, that one woman, what'd you buy, 4 houses or something like that? They get all this money. They're making all this money off of what they call social, you know, like social issues, as if they're socially conscious and they want diversity and all that stuff. But in reality, it's all hypocrisy, right? Because they pretend that it's not about the money and they really care about people, but it's not. It's hypocrisy. And what it is it's hypocrisy for profit, right? And it's just one big game. Hypocrisy, right? And so, okay, so that's going on. I don't care. You know, if you know, like I say, I live fine. I live at the poverty level, and I'm happy to be this way. Like I said, people keep trying to like make me offers and stuff, you know, come back, you know, we're looking for a creative director at such and such. We, you know, produce, help us, you know, you want to get back into produce, you know, produce a movie, you know, do this, do that, you know, pay, you know. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to go to New York or LA. I've been there, lived there, worked there, did that, been there, done that. I'm living down at the poverty level, you know. And it's fine, just as fine. I don't want to get into some game that I'll just be trapped in some place where, you know, I'd be just walking on more eggshells, right? Because the whole thing's crazy. You know, it's like I don't want to have the parameters. If I want to make a movie or a TV show, or if I want to do create some commercials or do advertising or get, you know, whatever, be back in some of the business publishing and some of the things I was in over the years. I don't want someone to say, you got to do this, do that, add this scene, create it this way, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's the same. That's what I'm saying. I don't care if it's politics or entertainment, you know, whether it's the First Amendment, you know, the First Amendment, the idea of freedom is still, you know, a foundational, like natural law, the ability to just be yourself. You know, those aren't, you know, it's like, it's funny that we even consider that a First Amendment right, as if man, you know, some man or men or women or whomever can give us the right to be free. Right? I mean, it's the movie Born Free. It's like you're born free. That's natural law. That's the law of the universe. Freedom. Right? And as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, you know, most people would consider, is that as long as you're not infringing on someone else's freedom, then you are free to do whatever you like. Right? That's the only parameters, you know, stipulation on freedom is not to take away someone else's freedom. See? But in effect, what people are doing now, and like this platform, others and politicians and all these other people, is they're infringing on your freedom, your right to be free. So you could call it First Amendment. You could call it whatever you want to, but the point is yeah, so screw that. But what I was getting to, the other part, so okay, so you have all these people on one side, and it's not like a side as if they're opposing sides, but just to give you, I'm trying to present something here. So you have all these people who are basically making money, most of them whom are, you know, they're just hypocrites, all right? I mean, that's what they are. They're just outright hypocrites. They're making a lot of money pretending, you know, that they care about this, that, the other, but they're all just like caught up in this whole world. It's not like they're going to stop and start and they're going to decide they're going to read the night before Christmas to you, or play you Christmas music, right? Or get drunk on the air, right? And do a little bit of ranting because they don't want to lose their meal tickets. See, me, I don't care. I don't really care. I was curious to see if that was still on locals, right? Because if they would have taken it down, that would have been fine. I don't really care. Like I said, same with this. I don't even know if I'm going to do this much longer. I don't know if I'm going to do this tomorrow, let alone I'm not going to do it. Certainly not going to do it for another year. I mean, literally, I did this every day for the entire year. So you have those people, the hypocrites and the monetized and the, news for profit, it's all for profit, whatever, social justice warriors who are making a buck at it, right? It's a living, right? It's not a mission, But what I was saying is that it's a big country. And so you have this area, like I say, this state where I happen to be is technically a blue state, as they say, which are basically, too many basicallys in the sentence, but which is an area, that you would expect things to be more strict as far as the mandates and dictates of the authoritarian state that we now live in. That's what the corporatocracy is, right? It's authoritarianism. But because this country's so big, and even these states are so big, and there's so many boroughs, townships, and small towns and cities, right, that they, even with all the infrastructure of mass surveillance, the surveillance state, and them knowing this, that, the other, blah, 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 they still, reality is when I walk down and go to, I went to, I'm not going to name names of places, but I was at 2 places a couple of days ago, right? And, and there were, and both of those places, people weren't wearing their masks. Neither the people working there or the people coming into it. Okay. In a blue state. Because this area is so far out. Right? And I'll go to the supermarket and they've got it on the front thing. And I put in like a kerchief, handkerchief over myself, which is like, it's as bad as those surgical masks. Like, they're good if you, the only thing they protect you against, maybe if you sneeze or something. But I mean, air's getting in. Like I've said before, this thing's water, in water vapor, water droplets and stuff like that, microscopic things. So, it gets in through your eyes and stuff, and the sides of the mask and things like that. So unless you're wearing like swimming goggles and one of those N95 masks where you can't even breathe, or technically a gas mask or something like, those plastic visor things down like this, unless you got something crazy like that, a spacesuit, you the whole thing is just preposterous and just a joke. It's an exercise in futility because you're not really protecting yourself and you're not protecting anybody else. Not really. Like I say, maybe if you cough or sneeze, that would prevent it from flying, 21 feet or whatever the heck the distance of that thing goes. Hold it back, Force it back in your own lungs. So, But anyway, so what I'm saying is that when you look throughout this country, it's not like places like Florida, where they make a big stink about. Because like I said, I know people in Florida, and the thing about it is, for all them pretending like Florida's some free state, it's not. Florida has, there's areas and pockets of Florida that are locked down and all that kind of stuff. And the school systems and teachers unions and stuff, they're all crazed, right? They've drank the Kool-Aid, right? They got the kids all, they've destroyed an entire generation. Irreputably, mentally damaged, people. What was that?
Really funny.
So, but it's not funny. So what I'm saying is, you got this ginormous country, 330 some million people, and you have the news media and entertainers and the elite, right? The elite, and all these people who are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, right, with a few billionaires thrown in there, that are all like drank this Kool-Aid, but it's basically hypocrisy for profit, right? And they're just doing this because it's their meal ticket. It's their money. It's their flow. It's the stream, the stream they've got coming in of cash. And they're not about to stop it. They're not about to and they won't cross the lines, right? But they pretend, that they dance around it sometimes, but the reality is they're not willing to give up that, $1 million a year salary or whatever they're making by collectively getting together and going against, and violating the terms of service, right? You see? And that's on both, that's the whole, that's what's so ridiculous about this. So like I say, they're hypocrites. But then there's this big country that we live in that outside of these major markets and stuff like that, in the neighborhoods, when you get down to like the space between, that's why they don't they're kind of perplexed right now, and they get a problem because in the whole idea of the original UN thing, Agenda 21, which turned into Agenda 2030, and now's the World Economic Forum Great Reset thing, right? They kind of turned it over to World Economic Forum and the Davos people, right? But it's still the same old thing they've been trying to push for like 30 some years now. And what they wanted to do was they knew that this was a problem, people living out here in the fields, so to speak, right? Like the Who song. And they wanted everyone to be huddled into these major market areas, right? So they could centralize, everything, centralize control, distribution, whatever they wanted to do. But they don't have that. And what happened is they allowed people to just like flee because they played their cards wrong. They weren't smart enough to like implement their own policy. And so now they've got all this draconian measures and all this authoritarianism going on because I don't know what they're trying to do, if they're trying to kill people off out in the outskirts, right? Or something. I mean, I know that sounds insane, and it sounds like, Kitzin's conspiracy theorist. But it's not. The idea is that they don't have control of this country. So if you watch the nightly news and you watch these vloggers or you listen to these podcasts, you get the impression that this is, it's an authoritarian state, it's out of control. But the reality is that's only if you're stuck in New York City, Chicago, or Detroit, or LA, right? And the smart people over the past year or two have been escaping from those places. And it's easier to do than you think. It's just, because the point is the cost of living in these areas that are the strictest and are the most, mandated, demanding, and, just, I don't know, prison colonies. You could basically, and now that you can work from anywhere, practically. I see jobs online. I'm not looking, but I've scanned everything just because I want to know what's going on. And I see, you look at 10 jobs and at least half or more than half of them say, they're like work from home type of situations. I know a person who got hired for a job, one of a good, decent paying job, and never, and was interviewed over, the internet and phone, and I think had maybe some, I don't know what they used, what their platform was, a FaceTime or Duo or whatever the heck they used. But, had a couple of those things, got the job, and just gets paid every couple of weeks, direct deposited to wherever they said they wanted the money put. And they have a job, and they're making good money. So, there are jobs like that, list like some jobs unfilled right now. So you can live in some obscure place where the cost of living is like so low. Like I said, my mortgage, taxes, and insurance are like $200 a month. I mean, do you understand that if you're living in some city, even a smaller town? Like before I moved here, I was living in another town. It was like a college town, and it was I was paying close to $700 for rent for an apartment, but I had all things included, costs, weren't included, but all things included took that up to, double that, right? But still, compared to like New York City, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying, in that area, to have gone from paying rent, it was like $700 more or less, rent alone, to having my own house with a yard, and it's the mortgage, taxes, and insurance, which would be the equivalent of a rent, right? Because that's everything, is only $200. So, and I'm not saying a lot of people could find places like this. This was I searched for this, but you could find places. You could find houses that you could get a 15, or depending on your age, 15-year, 30-year mortgage. That's, under $500 or somewhere in that range. And so if you're coming from a city or a place where you were paying close to $1,000, or let alone New York where you're paying maybe $3,000 to $5,000 or some obscene amount of money, a couple $1,000, and you cut a couple of thousand down to $500, you see what I mean? You could almost you can live on a gig economy, or you just get one of these jobs. You could stock away enough money and have your own house and be free. And that's what I'm saying. And most of America is so spread out that they can't, they have no control over it. You see? See, it's not like, the thing about it, it's not like, Austria is like, rightfully so, they're comparing, their latest tactic to like the Gestapo tactics, right? Well, yeah, if you got a place like the UK and Austria, Sweden, Norway, even Germany, though it's a big country, fairly big country, but it's not as big as the U.S. And so, they've got, they can really clamp down on their population and control and manipulate people, right? Though even in those areas, there are people who are, because I'm a YouTuber, so I watch certain people in, different areas that, are kind of have their own little, even in their own little backyard gardens, are like self-sufficient and try and keep, they have their own resistance in their own way, right? But when it comes to the U.S., the former United States, that, we're spread out all over the place. So there's probably at least 100 million people who are not complying with any of this nonsense that they're trying to shove down people's throats. And that must drive them nuts, right? This coffee's useless. I don't know. Messy. So I just thought I'd bring that up because I was thinking about that. It was like, yeah, what are they going to do to people out, in the outskirts? Forget about, it's nice when you see like certain governors and stuff stand up to these federal, dictatorial, mandates and stuff, and laugh at these, bureaucrats trying to tell us what we can and cannot do with our own bodies. But, then there's all the rest of us out here that they're not going to get around to everybody. So that's why I don't trust them sending something to me in the mail and then, or having, because it's like, they know, they have no control over probably maybe more than half the population of this country. They have no control over, and half the population of this country doesn't care about them. That's another thing people don't realize. Because these people live within a circle. Excuse me. They live within a circle of, it's like they're mutual admiration societies, and it's the same old story and the same narrative that they're all talking about, and they're all making money on it, and people are like these news junkies. They actually use that terminology. So people are just watching and consuming this stuff all day long, and it's a big circle jerk, right? But meanwhile, there are other people who are into doing different things, right? Like because I don't watch any news. I just scan certain things. I'm aware of stuff, right? It's like this one guy says his head's on a swivel. It's kind of a weird statement, but if you know who that guy is, he's a fairly rational, intelligent guy. Self-proclaimed genius. But he, like that guy, I keep my eyes out open. Excuse me, I'm talking at this hour of the morning. I apologize. This is a live show. There's no way of editing it out, and I'm not going to, this is the way it goes. So yeah, I'm aware of things, but, just because I want to be. But sometimes I just go and I'm not. Like I told a story the other day. I said I accidentally, through Fire TV, got a live channel from someplace, and they were talking about eliminating the traffic stops for people who had taillights and brake lights that were out. And I was like, wow, that could cause a lot of serious accidents, all because they were thinking that there was an unfair amount or percentage of people, getting stopped or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I'm aware. I'm kind of aware of but there's a lot of people who aren't even aware. Like I say, the whole gaming community, and they're those guys, if they have jobs, the moment they get home from they're just like on that couch. It's like call like Uber Eats or pull out the 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew or whatever, and it's like put on the headset and just get into the game and play that till you get tired, go to sleep, and or they'll watch some Marvel, movie, or The Matrix is out now. Watch The Matrix on HBO Max or something like that. And go to bed, go to work, and then come back and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat. But then there's other people who are just into their other things. Like I said, I did a show once on that, and in one of my books I wrote about that. I actually had a list of things that people do. I forget which book it is, or I'd pull it out, but it'd take me a half hour to find the essay. But I was explaining that there are people who are into certain things and that are there besides politics and besides paying attention to any of these cult of personality type of things. And, you know, one of those is like the gaming community. Another one is like sports fanatics, right? Another one is like certain people who are just family people, right? And they just focus on family. There's certain people who are religious and they focus on that, spirituality. There are other people that are into odd things like, you know, like conspiracy theories or off the wall, you know, phenomenon, you know, strange things, right? And there's sci-fi fanatics, comic book people. There are people that still read, believe it or not, right? That come home and curl up with a good book, right? They don't watch the nightly news. They just like they're into reading stories, you know, fiction and, you know, whatever. You know, there's so many different things that people are into. It's like in the summertime, you know, come the spring, late spring into the fall, I spend almost half my year out in my backyard, you know, preparing a garden, and in the middle of the summer, I'm out lounging in my my chair on my patio in between two speakers. So I've got the stereo sound, listening to music, soaking up the vitamin D from the sun. And then when I had enough of that, filling a, you know, colander with some fresh veggies, bringing them in the house and either having some kind of salad, soup, or sandwich or something. You see what I mean? I'm not listening to anything like paying attention to politics or any kind of thing whatsoever. And I'm in my own fenced-in backyard, right? Because the sun comes from the top. And I made the fence next to one of my neighbors. It's like about at least 8 feet tall now. So I don't have to see even the top of their heads bobbing, right? Excuse me. And there's a lot of people like that, and there's a lot and people are spread out all over this country, and they just don't care. And so the thing about it is, that's what I was saying the other day. You know, even if things got to the point where they were, you know, became more of a totalitarian state, right? But I just can't imagine him going door to door in a country of 330 million people with such, you know, such wide open spaces, right? But it's like in the summertime, I'm out in my backyard, you know, and you can't get into my house. And I'm certainly not breaking any laws, so it's like there's no reason for them to, you know. And I've got cameras, security systems, and alarms on things. So it's like, yeah, you could knock on my front door. Nobody's going to answer. I'm out in the back sunning, you know. And I'm not around that many people. And the people I'm around, you know, don't care about things either. And so that's just something interesting. It's an interesting I just yanked on my headphone. It's an interesting observation that I had this morning before I came down here that I don't think a lot of people really realize. And it's like, so if you're being, you know, if you don't like your situation, just change it. It's a big country and just move. Because there's plenty of jobs you can do, you know, basically through, like I said, I don't know what they call it, the telecommuting. I mean, there's different terminologies in different parts of the country they use. But I mean, you don't even have to interview. You could get a job with a company that's, you know, based in, Boston or something, and you could be living in, you know, Tennessee or Kansas, you know, and you never have to go to Boston, you know, and you can make your money and live like a king, you know. So like I say, if I really wanted to do it, I would do something like that because I'd only have to work for like 1 year or two because the cost of living here is so cheap that I'd be able to stockpile so much money, right? That I could live because I have access. Obviously, I'm doing this broadcast. So it's like we all have internet. So it's like we have access to technology, and like I say, I grow half my food myself. And it's not like I'm some like weird, gardening type of guy or something, trial and error. I just figured it out. You plant a seed, it grows. Every year you learn a little bit more, about things. In fact, there was a thing I think I put, I'll see if I put this in here because I keep forgetting. I never like to, that's my grow room in-house, but I'm going to go, I talked about this the other day and I couldn't find it. I was talking about my, I hope this comes in. Yeah. Yeah, check this out. I don't know if you're scared of bees, but pollinators. That's like a picture that's a typical thing I see pretty much close up in my yard in the summertime. Bees, pollen. I grow these flowers. This is like, I've been growing them for a couple of years, and so each one of those flowers will seed. We'll have like, I don't know how many seeds, but a bunch. Okay. And I had so many flowers. And so that attracts, this is a bumblebee, but I've got honeybees as well. And, that's something that I learned, because I'm not a big flower person, I'm like the classic, a guy thing, I'm not a flower person. I mean, nothing against somebody who's into flowers, but I'm just saying it's like for me. But for the garden, yeah. And like people, when they see the flowers that I've grown and that have been cross-pollinated, and I use the seeds year after year, like, because that flower where that bee is on, that will become, once that's all pollinated and then it eventually shrivels up, dries up, it's just a seed pack. There might be 100 seeds in there. And I've got tubs, of seeds. And so I'll sprinkle those and plant them in the spring, and I'll have flowers growing all around. And people see it, and they're like, and the colors of them, and every year it's, yellow, white, orange, they look like carnations and stuff. But actually, these are some kind of derivation of like a marigold that's like kind of grown outrageously big. Anyway, that was something that I had mentioned before, that I had this thing for my camera, my smartphone camera, that allowed me to zoom in. And that I said that in a previous episode, and I found that yesterday. So I wanted to just share that with you. Just like there was one other thing I wanted to show you. I'm trying to find what I did with that. I think that was Boozilla. Yeah, I already showed you that. That was the beer from yesterday. I just want to make sure. I don't like to talk about something, right, that, and then not, because sometimes I can't find it. Because, particularly with this Apple computer setup, the search on here stinks. And so sometimes I can't find my own files. And I have, how many? I must have 100,000 files on here. I mean, I have terabytes of storage. That's how crazy it is. I have like 2 or 3 terabyte backup drives, and I have like 2 terabytes right in this computer I'm using right now. And there's the title card that brought you here. I'm going to miss that girl with the skin. Look at it. Wow. And there's little Rudolph. next to Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge. Poor little Rudolph. It all ends well, though. It ends happily ever after, right? So, let's go for it, right? The morning show. Yeah. I'm going to read it. I could put some background music on or something. I'm trying to think if I have anything that I could play. What I could do is, let me see something here. Applications. Do I have Garageband on here? Yeah, let's see. Let's see if this computer could play this without messing things up. What I'm going to do is try to find a little loop of something that I could put on from the old 2012. Oh, I didn't want to search. Oh, darn. Clicked the wrong. Sorry about that noise. All right. Here we go. This is a real old version. You can't see this. All right. So if I were to take the volume of this way down, or what I'm going to try to do is find some. I'm looking for the original version of Garageband, and in the original version, they had basically certain tracks. They still have it, but it was like a different setup. And so, in other words, you could sample certain things. And so what I wanted to do is try to find something I could put in the background. Like, I don't want an instrument. I want a sound. So let's see what we have here. That's not it. How did I do this? I'm sorry about this, guys. If I can't, I haven't used this version in so long that I can't even see, I don't even see the volume control in this one. And what the length of the song is. 72. All right, what I'm going to do is, I see the location of that. I'm going to take the volume down here. "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. All the stockings were hung by the chimney in hope that St. Nicholas soon would be there. Then what to my wondering eyes should appear a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. A little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. And more rapid than eagles his reindeer all came, as he shouted on Dasher and each reindeer's name. And so up to the housetop the reindeer soon flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. Down the chimney he came with a leap and a bound. He was dressed all in fur and his belly was round. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside of his nose, then giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Anyway, 'twas the night before Christmas. Sorry, I had to pay attention to like two different things to do that. Don't add. Do you want to see a project is? Sure, why not? Anyway, so 'twas the night before Christmas. I mean, it's kind of the night before Christmas now. It's the morning before the night before Christmas, but it's still night. Technically, it's dark outside. And that computer still works. It's a G5. It's like almost 20 years old. And right now it's like, I don't know, it's turning that thing, into like what they call an iLife preview or something. But anyway. Good morning. Wow. So
It's the holiday season.
Anyway, so I don't know, we got into a few things today. You can see the list over here. This Santa has. But yeah, hopefully that 2020, the coming year, 2022, or 1522, whatever it is. But that more people realize that, you're free. You have these, you could call it God-given rights, natural law, right? Universal law, whatever it is. It's the point is you were born free, right? And, you just don't, you get if you're in a place and you're in you're being tormented, because that's what some of these mayors and governors are doing in some of these states, tormenting people, torturing your kids if you have kids, indoctrinating them, and instead of teaching them. Like I was seeing in one state that someone was talking about that the literacy rate was something like 6%, like, of people getting out of schools. 6 or 7%, because they were so much attention was being paid to this like social justice issues, and then just preparing them for these state and federal tests so they could get funding. The teachers union could keep getting their money and all that stuff, and the administrators. Like I say, it's all hypocrisy. They don't care about kids. They just want to keep their jobs and keep their fun and get their pension, make sure their pension fund doesn't get like tossed out like airline pilots and so many other people who had pensions they thought they were going to retire in, which they just like vanished when it was time to retire. So it's like that's what they're concerned about, their pensions, and they're worried about getting their salaries and getting raises, right, or whatever. And then in the meantime, they drank all this Kool-Aid and they're just teaching kids all this crazy stuff. And so the kids get out of school. That's why I say, this generation, when my generation basically, I'm already out of the picture, because a younger person isn't going to watch this show. They go, who's this goofy guy? What's he talking about? Look, he was really wearing a Santa costume. What a jerk, right? Hey, somebody younger, that's how they would look at this, right? People my own age probably look at it that way too. But I don't care, But what I'm saying is that, when I was younger, I traveled all over the globe, basically. And I did all these things and I accomplished certain things. And but, these generation, several generations who have come up under this, regime, so to speak, they don't have, they've already missed out on opportunities. Put it that way. They don't have the factual knowledge in their, because they haven't had the freedom to think for themselves, to question things. And they don't know the basics, they weren't taught the basic things, how to, about life and living and how to survive and, the 3 R's even, They come in handy, I believe it, when you're in all sorts of ways. So if you want to if you don't mind living in one of those, Stasi states, right? Then fine. Like I say, I'm not telling you to do anything. You're free to do whatever you want to do. That's what I'm telling you. But there's plenty of places in this big country that these people who are trying to manipulate and control everyone, that, they just don't have the reach. They don't have the reach. There just simply aren't enough people to implement their authoritarianism. You see? And people are just saying, well, yeah, screw you. Yeah, go ahead, do that. We don't care. We don't live that way. Right? If you guys want to live that way in New York City, do it. If you want to do that in Philadelphia, I lived in Philadelphia when Philadelphia was like, the bastion of freedom, Philadelphia freedom. Remember that song? And the idea of Philly's like, totally been taken over too. I lived in D.C., when it was, I don't know. I liked living in D.C. I had fun in D.C. I wouldn't want to live there now. I lived and worked in New York several times, several different positions. I wouldn't want to live there now. Same with L.A. I lived all over L.A. 3 different times. Lived in Malibu and the beach, lived in Beverly Hills, and lived in Hollywood when I first got there. Hollywood's a dump, but I mean, you go to a place. That was the cheapest place to live, Hollywood. People don't know that. They've never traveled there. But, I built, got myself established and moved into bigger and better things. And I've been in other places as well. And so I talk from experience, and I've been in small towns where I've worked and had good jobs and good situations and a lot of fun. So, you could do whatever you want to really if you set your mind to it, right? And barring, barring something like a handicap or something like that, inability where you're immobile or something like that. But barring that, anyone, and even if that were the case, with today's telecommuting and all that kind of stuff, where you can just do something from a computer with a camera or whatever, internet connection, really, it's the sky's the limit. It's a big country. I just can't see them getting around. I remember driving around parts of Kansas and Arkansas, on my way to New Orleans. I remember to go to Mardi Gras, traveling through these weird little places, Oklahoma, parts of like the panhandle of Texas, through stretches out west, the Southwest, parts of Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, these places, people lived in houses and they just were out there. It was like a dirt road to get to their house kind of thing. That's America. And it's like the people who live like that, and that's not like people who are like homesteaders or something. No, these are people. This is the way the America has been built. No, these are people who have, electricity, telephone, internet connections, sewage, and all that stuff. No, it's normal life. It's just that what I'm saying is that it's this giant country, and when you travel around it. And when you, like I was, when I was free, especially the first time I went out west, it was just me and my car and all my possessions. And so I was free, and I would stop at a, Motel 6 or something, wasn't even a Motel 6, a cheap motel, some mom pop motel. And, they cost like $29 a night or something. And walk from there to some, bar, get something to eat or something. And then, and then decide to stay, for the night, in the place because it was good music or a good atmosphere or something like that. And so I ended up staying and then maybe stay another day. I've done that stuff. You see that stuff in movies and stuff like that, but that's the way it really is. I always say it's like, I even talk about those thrillers, those political thrillers and Bond movies even. It's like these stories take it from a guy who's written 10 books, me. All right, these all stories are based on something. There's an inspiration. I mean, sometimes you just make something up completely. But I mean, it still has a basis in some foundation in, a location or a situation or reality. It's just that if it's fiction, you can take it to a far extreme. Or like in my book, Then What? There's a horror story I wrote in there. But I based the horror story on an actual setting and location, which made it very easy to write. The only thing that changed was that it was a horror, like it was the horror aspect of it. You see? But, in other words, so when you see these movies and these people, stay at some roadside place and end up at some, honky tonk, right? And then go home with the bartender or something weird like that. That's, a waitress or whatever. Yeah, it's like that, And when you're free, at least in the old days, if I say the old days when I was traveling around like that, that's what life was like, I felt like staying in the town for a couple of days. I'd stay in town for a couple of days and then drive and move on. And I'd explore. And like I say, sometimes I would deviate from the main highways. So I would explore, I wasn't in a hurry to get anywhere. So it was more like a compass. I knew I was heading west. I knew one way or another I was going to end up in California. But I figured I'm not going to just like get on Interstate 80 or 40 or whatever and just like, floor it like I had to be there at a certain time. I didn't. I just knew I was going to get a job in California. I decided I'm going to take the California trip, like that Route 66 thing. And I was on Route 66 as much as you can be those days. And so I would deviate off the main road and go just into some small nothing town and explore America. And if there was a place to stay there and it looked like there was some, cafe, honky-tonk, pub, whatever, or just some bar, I might stay a day or two, and hang out and have some fun. Because the cost, especially off the beaten track in small town America, the costs are just so low. Like even here, where I live, on the outskirts of a city, but it's a once has been city. So it's not like this is no major market. But, there's a bar up the street where, you could get, it's the cheap beer and a cheap 6-pack if you wanted it. Like I say, I don't drink that much. And even yesterday after that, the hangover, in the middle of the night, I was feeling, I'm like, I'm losing interest in that. I used to be a big party guy, not super big. Well, kind of a big party guy. I would always be hanging out and in clubs and bars and stuff. Mostly bars, but I mean, throwing parties and stuff. But it's like, I don't know, those days are like fading. But yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at the clock and it's like I want to go to the store early, beat the crowd. I don't in fact, I want to make sure, I'm hoping that this place is open even. I don't know if it's Christmas Eve. I think they should have their normal hours. I hope. Well, anyway,
It's the holiday season.
Good morning.
hey, thanks for listening to me, letting me babble and be a part of your Christmas Eve. Wish you all the best if you're celebrating Christmas. Enjoy. You can keep up with me at rockflux.com. And if you want to check out that Junkin thing, it's not like I'm neither proud nor not proud of it, but it's like TonyCaravanLive.locals.com. You might want to check that. Join Locals. You could join for free. And I don't charge for my content on there right now, so check it out. Otherwise, I'll talk to you. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's why I say, there's my site, rockflux.com, TonyCaravanLive.locals.com. Remember that, but, these videos shouldn't be vanishing. Anyway, take care.